When you think of legends in the field of animated movies, the groundbreaking aesthetic of the Japanese animation film studio, Studio Ghibli, likely tops the list. Its trademark hand-drawn, detail-oriented artistry and stories centering real-world social and/or environmental issues have constantly redefined what it means to create a delicately immersive animated world. Whether you're in the mood for the magically whimsical, the strange and supernatural, or a heartfelt, introspective coming-of-age story, Studio Ghibli's got you covered with some of the best anime of all time.
Number 10.
The tale of the Princess Kaguya is based on a 10th century monogatari, a kind of long-form narrative prose specific to Japan, called The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter. It's about a nymph found growing a bamboo stalk by a bamboo cutter. The cutter and his wife take the child in and raise her as their own. The child rapidly grows into a beautiful and highly desired woman. Sent away to court by her adopted father to make a favorable marriage, the homesick Kaguya sets her suitors, princes and the emperor alike, impossible tasks to avoid being forced to pick a husband. Directed by longtime Miyazaki collaborator and Studio Ghibli co-founder Isao Takahata, it relies on a soft palette of watercolors to infuse the scrolling narrative of his adaptation with life. As the story of Kaguya's origins and ultimate otherworldly fate unfolds, prepare to run the gamut of emotions from joy, compassion, love, sadness, and a deep longing. This Ghibli project wasn't done in partnership with Disney, so prepare yourself for heartbreak because Takahata turned this thematically heavy fairy tale into a melancholy wonder.
Number 9.
The Ponyo film was released in 2008. Hayao Miyazaki's 10th film and 8th directed for Studio Ghibli, Ponyo follows the story of a goldfish princess who desperately wants to live in the surface world and the 5-year-old boy she befriends. With heavy Little Mermaid influences and metaphors about ocean pollution and preservation, Ponyo is anything but a kitschy retelling. Ponyo is a sweet and highly engaging magical adventure featuring Miyazaki's signature hand-drawn animation presented in a vibrant, fluid style.
Number 8.
Porco Rosso was released in 1992. Porco Rosso turns the story of an Italian World War I ex-fighter ace Marco Pagotto, transformed into an anthropomorphic pig by a curse. The freelance bounty hunter makes a living chasing down air pirates, becomes known to the world as Porco Rosso, which in Italian is for Crimson Pig. Offering up breathtaking yet still accessible feeling animation, Miyazaki blends fact and fantasy into a comedic high-flying adventure. Gritty themes just below the surface make Porco Rosso a masterful bittersweet storytelling about identity, star-crossed lovers. Porco Rosso is quite possibly Miyazaki's most underrated movie for Studio Ghibli.
Number 7.
Grave of the Fireflies adapts Akiyuki Nosaka's semi-autobiographical short story of the same into a profoundly moving anti-war film and Studio Ghibli gem. Grave of the Fireflies tells the story of two children's struggle to survive in harsh wasteland in the aftermath of Japan's surrender at the end of World War II. It's a story of innocence, loss, devastation, and hope. The unique mix of animation techniques Takahata employed to bring this somber tale to life creates an achingly realistic portrayal without ever crossing the line into tragedy porn. It's eye-opening, startlingly beautiful, and an inescapable clarion call for peace. Grave of the Fireflies is a meditation on the human cost of war, and hands down Isao Takahata's masterpiece. It's also one of the saddest anime movies you'll ever see. Due to an ownership arrangement, Graves of the Fireflies isn't included in any of the Studio Ghibli licensing deals, but it's well worth the rental price.
Number 6.
Kiki's Delivery Service film was released in 1989. This twitchy-witchy adventure may be light on plot, but it's full of delightful energy. Brought to life with a color palette just as vibrant as its lead, Kiki's Delivery Service follows young witch trainee Kiki and her snarky cat Gigi in a coming-of-age tale inspired by the children's story by the same name. Its deeper themes and subtle patriarchal vibes balance out the sentimental edge of its animation, keeping this charming adventure from veering too far off track. With Kiki's delivery service, Hayao Miyazaki proves there's no limit to the ways he can blend magic and the mundane, perpetually reinvigorating the Studio Ghibli aesthetic. Kiki's a lovable character perfect for bringing a story about confidence, loneliness, and risk-taking to life.
Number 5.
Howl's Moving Castle film was released in 2004. Inspired by the novel of the same name by British author Diana Wynne Jones, Howl's Moving Castle follows a young milliner, Sophie, who befriends a wizard named Howl who lives in a magical castle. When a jealous witch curses Sophie with old age, Howl must use all his magical abilities to save her before time runs out. Howl's Moving Castle is a masterful display of Miyazaki's animation skills and ability to pace and interpret characters for dynamic storytelling. As the latter half of the film takes a darker turn, it becomes clear that Howl's Moving Castle is Hayao Miyazaki's contribution to Studio Ghibli's anti-war stories. Riddled with gorgeous imagery and appealing characters, Miyazaki created a journey into pure imagination.
Number 4.
Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind film was released in 1984. A post-apocalyptic science fiction adventure follows skillful fighter and princess Nausicaa as she navigates life 1,000 years after the war that destroyed civilization. Written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki, the story revolves around her attempts to save her community from an ecological disaster. Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind is a timeless example of Miyazaki's masterful word-building and one of the best science fiction movies, period.
Number 3.
Princess Mononoke film was released in 1997. One of Studio Ghibli's most well-known title, Princess Mononoke tells the epic story of a forest princess who mobilizes to combat mechanization and encroachment that threatens her people and their home. This blend of myth, legend, and fantasy, painstakingly constructed of lush hand-drawn art, evocative music, and a mix of monsters, magic, and charismatic characters, telling a dynamic tale ahead of its time. Hayao Miyazaki perfectly balances his desire to engage in flights of intense fantasy that serve as weight allegories, producing epic that will never be forgotten.
Number 2.
My Neighbor Totoro film was released in 1988. Two young girls who befriend the spirit monsters near their new home. Hayao Miyazaki's classic is a sweet trip into childhood. Its pastoral scenes of tranquil summer afternoons, playful cast of characters, fill My Neighbor Totoro with an enticing charm and warmth. Miyazaki's created a near-perfect story of innocence, hope, fun, and the joys of being a kid, or young at heart. If Studio Ghibli has a mascot, it's definitely the titular character Totoro.
Number 1.
Spirited Away film was released in 2001. Studio Ghibli on the map internationally. It's an enchanting tale made of light, magic, mystery, and monsters. It's a meditation on the natural world, the spirit world, and how they interact with the mundane. Spirited Away centers on 10-year-old Chihiro, who inadvertently ends up in a world of gods and monsters while moving to a new neighborhood with her parents. Chihiro ends up stranded in this netherworld after her parents get transformed into pigs and the river floods. Chihiro must learn to navigate the spirit world and how to escape before she forgets her name and is trapped forever. Hayao Miyazaki's signature artwork and heartfelt storytelling come together in a gorgeous and immersive fairy tale that remains unmatched.